Good morning, guys. I want to get on here today and answer a few questions that I see periodically, and it comes up in business. And when I go to a house and I say, they keep talking pressure washing, power washing, and I say, yeah, the only time I use pressure is when I use concrete. We soft wash houses. And then they go, what's soft washing? What does that mean? Well, I want you guys to know soft washing is when you're taking, basically it's a chemical clean. Instead of you using pressure to clean the house, to knock the algae off the house, and using high pressure on the house, you're spraying a chemical on. You let it set, you let it do its job, and then you spray it off. That chemical is sodium hypochlorite for the biggest part. I'm sure there's people that may use different things depending on, what the purpose of the job is. But, doing a house wash, most of the time it's going to be sodium hypochlorite, which is AKA bleach. So if somebody says, what is soft washing? Or if you get an estimate for somebody and they say, well, we soft wash, or you see you're on here and you're looking up, different ways to pressure wash. My first job that I soft washed was a simple single double wide or single story double wide. And I had used the turbo nozzle on the first two jobs that I had done. Luckily, I didn't do any damage. Could have been really, really bad, but it wasn't. And luckily, the houses weren't that bad. But the first house I ever soft washed was a house that had is a double wide. It wasn't real tall, but there was some mildew up at the top, and I was just hitting it with water. So I had to figure out what to do to fix that. Got online, started doing some research. Found out what downstreaming was, found out about using bleach, what a Jrod was. Then I started doing a bunch of research on mixing chemicals. I know there are some guys on here that don't use as strong as bleach as others, so they may just pull straight from a mix tank. When you downstream, you have your chemical, and then you have a pickup tube in there, and that tube takes it to the pressure washer and sends it out the hose. Some guys, I used a pretty strong bleach, so my mix at first was like, when I was using like a 10%, the stuff you get at Walmart or Rural King, it was I'm batch mixing. So you hear my pump over there sucking the bottom of the hose, or the bottom of the tank. But get this last bit of water out. All right, I had to take a little intermission there. I'm batch mixing, and my water tank had sucked dry. So anyway, when I first started and I was using a lower percentage of bleach in a 5-gallon tote, I started out doing like half and half, and that really wasn't strong enough. So then I started doing 3 gallons of bleach to 2 gallons of water. And I was adding soap at the time, and that seemed to work, pretty well, real good. Well, then when I found a chemical company, and then I realized I could get pool shock and mix it even less, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I think there's still some guys that pull straight pool shock, which is, sodium hypochlorite. That's all it is. There's some guys that pull straight and shoot it on the house. I have done that, and I burnt some roses. I burnt the grass. Like, it was not good at all. It was way too strong. So I can't do that. So now I cut my mix 50-50. If I got a 50-gallon tank, I got 25 gallons of water, 25 gallons of bleach. When I run that through my pump, it's good for roofs, concrete, anything, brick. It's good for that, stucco. And then when I downstream it, it's strong enough to kill the stuff on the house. But what soft washing is spraying a chemical, letting that chemical eat away the mildew and the algae. It doesn't do anything to dirt. So if you got a house that's dirty, rinse that dirt off first, because bleach is not going to do a dang thing to some dirt. But rinse it off, and then spray your algicide on there, which is the proper term for bleach. But spray your cleaner on there, your soap, whatever you want to call it. People call it an algicide solution. to sound professional. Some just say bleach. Some say my mix. You'll hear hot mix, weak mix, house mix, roof mix. You'll hear all kinds of stuff when you're researching it, but it all just pertains to how they're mixing up their chemicals, what percentages they're using. So what soft washing is simple. Just spraying it on, letting it do the work, and rinsing it. I mean, you could honestly come back and rinse a house with a water hose at like 60 psi and get great results. I've done it. I've showed it on my YouTube videos. I use a pressure washer to apply the chemicals to a downstream injector, and then I use a pressure washer to rinse it off just because it's quicker. So what soft washing is exactly that. You spray it on and you softly rinse it off. There's never any hard pressure. You're not worrying about oxidizing, messing up the vinyl. You're not worried about doing any damage. And the thing about soft washing is that it does take that risk of damaging the vinyl, damaging windows, things of that matter. It takes that risk out, because if you do it right, you don't have that risk anymore, to where if you're using high pressure, man, you could do all kinds of damage. So that's what soft washing is, and that's my time for today. We'll see you.